What is the difference between living and existing? Let me start with the latter. Existing is a state of being. You are born, you live, and you breathe. Live in its literal sense, in terms of waking up each morning, getting up, dressing up, and showing up. You are functional from point A to point B. You do what needs to be done in order to exist, take in oxygen, and take out non-oxygen. Living is a different story altogether. It takes existence to another level because you are going above and beyond your capabilities. You're exploring what you're capable of physically, mentally, emotionally. You put yourself in spaces and places where you contest with thyself. Can I do this? To what extent? And am I willing to do it? You see what you can bring forth from an impact perspective. When one lives, it's a case of, what did I do today that has brought a smile, not just to myself, but to the next person? What did I do today that has had a positive, hopefully, impact on the next person? What skills was I able to explore within myself that can contribute to another person's life? Now, that for me is what you call living, because you're going above and beyond being what a friend of mine will call an oxygen thief. It is advisable we aim to take in the oxygen and utilize it to its maximum capacity rather than just existing. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Judith, thank you for delivering such a thought-provoking speech. You introduced the topic and your speech with a question that really got us thinking. You gave us a lot of very, very startling facts throughout the speech, which was sure to draw our attention. And you conveyed your passion completely throughout your speech. Something that you might want to work on is using more gestures to emphasize your points when you can. I did notice that you used your facial expressions very well to convey your emotion and emphasis. However, it might help to use your hands every now and then. To challenge yourself, I would recommend that you tread carefully on negative topics. While I'm sure that this was your intention to really inspire some kind of action in your audience, it was very much on the negative side. However, towards the end of the speech, you did give us hope and excitement for your next speech, during which you will be providing us with some answers. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
How would you feel if you were going to win a contest? We know it's now contest time. And during the contest, you become the winner. This all comes from having a well-prepared, crafted speech. You could have a great voice, but if your speech is not well organized, I guarantee you, you'll not be able to win any contest. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and all the guests. Toastmasters contest is now with us. And it's time for us to start preparing for the contest. I thought it would be proper for me to just give any insight of how you can prepare that killer speech that takes you ahead of the pack. As Mariswe, we want to win that contest. We want to be at the top of the division. So how do you prepare the speech? There are three fundamental things that you have to know when preparing the speech, which I would call signposts. You just tell them what you want to tell them. Simple. Secondly, tell them. then lastly, tell them what you've told them. This is the basic speech organization. Let's now unpack it so that it becomes a bit, so that we add a bit of flesh to it. Firstly, you start with your introduction. That's why you tell them what you're going to be telling them. The introduction is very important for your speech because it sets the tone for your speech. It's that verbal pattern where you're opening and you're allowing your audience to start imagining what is beyond that curtain. You set the emotional tone. How do you want the audience to feel? Do you want them to be anxious? Do you want them to be guilty or to be excited? This is where you set your tone for your speech. And the introduction is very important. As you go through that, you then have the body. Body is where you then look at the points, the main points that you want to build on. What are those points, the main points? The supporting material that you use to build on your material. Lastly, you go to the conclusion. This is where you tell them what you've told them. You're summarizing and condensing that. Let's now go to the introduction and unpack the introduction in terms of how best you can introduce yourself and introduce your speech so that it becomes impactful. Introduction, as a rule of thumb, is supposed to be 15% of your content. You have to knock their socks off. And as you're introducing your subject, because the audience is focusing at you, and you have to be impactful. You have to be the main actor and bring everybody into your speech. How best can you begin your introduction? One, you can start with a powerful quotation. I always suggest that you bring in an authority or somebody who's well-known. You can say, like, you can give a quote like, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. That captivating, powerful speech helps you to elevate your speech. Secondly, you can use illustrative stories, captivating story. You just give a snippet of that story. You can just say, once when I received that letter, sweat started dripping down my face. I missed, my heart missed escape. When you do that, it's already, people want to know what really happened. That captivating story. Thirdly, you can use a rhetoric question. A rhetoric question is not supposed to be, the audience is not supposed to answer. You just say, for example, has anybody cheated in an exam? And by that, people start thinking, okay, I once did that or whatever, everybody has got already a side that they're taking. Fourthly, you can use definitions of key terms. This is where you are presenting a technical speech. It's a speech that is that is technical. So you need to give definitions of the terms that may not be familiar with your audience. So you can start by defining the terms. Fifth, you can use humorous anecdote story. This lightens your speech and you bring your audience in. So the most important thing about the introduction is knock their socks off. Bring your audience into your speech so that they start eating from your palm. Once you've done with the introduction, you then move into your body. This is now 70% of your content should be on the body. You've got that showcase idea, which is that main idea that you want to expand on. And below that showcase idea, you need to illuminate it with what we call a spotlight ideas. You build on those spotlight ideas. Those are sub-points that you are building on the main purpose of your speech. And then the spotlight ideas, they connect to your main ideas. As a rule of thumb, you can use 3 spotlight ideas on one showcase idea. And you expand on that. As you expand on that, make sure that there is transitioning. You're transitioning from one point to the other, and your speech is flowing. Arrange them in order. It could be chronological order, or it could be that when arranging, it could be that it has to be flowing from one point to the other so that you don't miss your audience. Expand on those points. This is where the meat of your speech is. This is where you have to dazzle your audience as you bring them into your speech. Once you've got your introduction and your body sorted, the next thing is you conclude your speech. This is 10% of your content. What is the purpose of your presentation? Why did you share that speech? That's the purpose of your presentation. So you look at that and say, this is the reason why I'm presenting. The whole essence of conclusion is to make it memorable. This is what your audience will remember well after you've presented. So it's very critical, as important as the introduction as well, because these are the parting words that will remain vivid in your audience. Reinforce that big idea. You could pick one spotlight idea and use it as part of your conclusion to reinforce the points. These are the points that I was discussing about. You reinforce that. Call to action. This is where you are rallying your audience to say, this is what you should do. This is what you should do after this speech. Like after this speech, I want Mariswe to win the contest. I want Mariswe to understand how they can win the contest. That's a call to action. Or you can decide to review and summarize the whole information as part of your conclusion. You can also decide to just tie up all the loose ends. This is where you look at the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, and the tie up for your audience to know. Once you've incorporated all this, definitely your speech will be memorable. It will be something that the people will remember well after you have presented it. Having looked at all these things, the icing on the cake for your speech is what are called 3 P's of a great speech, which is preparation, the people, and the practice. Make sure that you incorporate all that. Yes, you could have the content there, you could have the right conclusion, but if you don't have the right preparation, if you don't have the right practice, if you don't have the right people, you miss the whole essence. So the audience analysis also becomes critical when you're presenting your speech. So what did I speak about? Just to recap, the introduction, tell them what you're going to tell them. The body, tell them these are the main points. idea, the supporting points, showcase ideas, spotlight ideas, then the supporting material in there. Finally, conclude when you tell them what you've told them. Mariswe, let's do this. This is the recipe for a great speech. Once you serve this dish, definitely you become a great speaker. That's conclude my presentation.